So last week we had started Perek Zayin, which was about she'ifa, which is either ambition or aspiration, depending upon whether we're using the word where we would want a positive connotation or a negative one. So we didn't get that far into the Perek, so I'm going to start again from the beginning here. So B'nai Adam Maritzim es Adam HaShoef. We had said that people admire someone who has ambition. V'chein samim lev l'chanech et b'neihem li'osam balei she'ifa. They make a point of educating their children to be ambitious, umeretz, and vote for left-wing parties. No. So an earnest. Dam kvar kasav echad hachoshvim. So one of the philosophers already wrote ki she'ifa chayim, that ambition or aspiration is life. Aval ha'im nachon hu hadavar. Is this true? So last time I suggested that this might be Gandhi, who says life is aspiration, which is not exactly the same thing, first of all. And second of all, I'm not sure he would call Mahatma Gandhi a philosopher. You know, you think of him as you know, a political leader, you know, an idealist or whatever, but Choshvim.
Choshvim can be translated as thinker.
Yeah, but either way, I get this ivory tower mental image when I hear Choshvim. I don't think of you know, a dynamic, charismatic leader type who freezes people. So I don't know. I mean, and the equation was said in the other direction, right? If you wanted to translate what Gandhi said, it would be Chayim Haim She'ifa. It wouldn't be She'ifa Haim Chayim. Whatever. So it may or may not have been him. That's all I'm saying. But he does say something quite similar either way. Hain HaShe'ifa Aval. Is it really true that she'ifa is a positive thing and life and all this? She'ifa hi ravon. She'ifa is actually kind of hunger. When a person has, you know, an ambition to eat, when a hungry person has an aspiration, he wants to eat. Similarly, any ambition that a person has, Rav Hulo so Davar, is a kind of hunger for that, is a kind of hunger for that, whatever that is they aspire to. Therefore, this thinker made a major error. But that when he said that ambition is life, hunger is not life. The living person can be a hungry one until he satisfies himself. Hunger is something that God put into people. Lema'an his kiram al hamasim asher yasu l'kim gufam, to remind us to do the things that are necessary to keep ourselves alive, to keep our bodies going. So yeah, going back to Gandhi, I had said that there was a major difference between Gandhi's target audience and the people that Rav Wolbe is writing for. Because in Gandhi's target audience, the need is ever present. The difference between somebody with aspirations and somebody not is whether they've given up or whether they're still trying to live. And therefore, there is a certain equality to She'ifa Chayim in a desperate situation that doesn't carry through outside that context to where Rav Wolbe is talking about. And that they are, I don't know if they're actually disagreeing, because if you need ravon, in order to be reminded to eat. That when you're hungry and you're not feeling hunger, when you're malnourished and not feeling hunger, there's a lack of life. So I'm not really sure. Again, if this was Gandhi, I'm not really sure that I disagree with, there's a resolution to the conflict between the two opinions. Kacha, so similarly, Gam Sha'ar Shifot, all the other ambitions, Mine Ravonu Hena, they are kinds of hungers. Shluchei Yitzrei Levavenu, they are messengers of the Yitzarim of our hearts. Yitzer Ra, Yitzer Tov, but first we'll Im Latov Im Lara, whether good or bad. Let's contemplate living things. And we find anyone who's hungry eats and is satisfied. See, that would have been a nice point to have reached last week. Was last week's parsha, no? Or was it 2 weeks ago already? Okay. Lo yosifu lechol adayir avu od. And they don't finish eating, and they're already starting to get hungry again. Zulat hachazir, except for pigs. Yochal mibli heref, they eat nonstop. Hilo yispala olam, they're never satisfied. Kacha gamba adam, people are like that. Oev kesef lo yispa, somebody who loves money is never satisfied with the wealth that they have. V'ra'av lo lamim, and is always hungry. And this is how we get workaholics. Because the more they try to accumulate wealth, the more wealth they want. Zehu choli ra, this is a terrible illness. It's not just the hunger for money that can rule constantly and forever. All of physical ambitions, or all ambitions for physical things, are like that as well. When as soon as a person is satisfied with what he got, they get hungrier and hungrier for more. So this is why Rav Olbi is no fan of the pursuit of physical. And I'll explain why. V'kacha amar Chazal. This is what Chazal say. He quotes Sanhedrin. It's also, I think, in Sukkah. It's in 2 places in the Gemara. Al echad haratzonot hachamriyim, on one of the desires of, one of the physical desires. He's talking about the libido. Masbi'ehu ra'av. When there's a small organ, an aver katan in a person, that the second the more you try to satisfy it, the hungrier it gets. So far, it looks like he's arguing toward asceticism, no?
Is it asceticism, or is it saying that you need to recognize that when you need something, it has a hold over you, and then the next step would be to push back on that?
Well, he's saying that the second you break out of asceticism and start wanting the 1, you're going to want the 2. And then if you want the 2, you're going to want the 4. Let's keep on looking. But you definitely see elements there. I mean, I don't really think he goes there either, but he definitely makes a case for it. He implies a case for asceticism. I don't think he's intentionally backing asceticism. That's all I mean.
The way he puts it reminds me of a story I heard from Rosh Hashiva about Rabbi Eliyahu, his father. He went towards the end of his life. He was a smoker, and the doctor said he has to stop smoking, and he liked smoking. He took out a cigarette. He looked at it. He said, "Is this going to rule me?" And he put it down. He never smoked again. That's recognizing that that hunger could basically discompletes. I know that's not a word, but makes incomplete a person.
Right. So let us contemplate more. Remember, we were contemplating the animals, that an animal gets hungry. As soon as it's done eating, it's hungry again. The whole cycle starts over, except for the pig. And let us continue to contemplate. Hashem had pity on the pig and empathy for it. Just as Hashem gave it lots of hunger, he also gave it plenty of available food. Pig food is available anywhere. Whatever any other creature gets rid of, it'll eat. I really don't know, by the way, if pigs do live off garbage, or are perpetually hungry, but that's definitely the role they play in human culture.
I mean, pigs, from what I remember from, I think it was National Geographic, I mean, pigs are fine with being clean, and they're quite sensitive, about the same level as dogs.
Yeah, no, I was actually told it's easier to train a pig than a dog.
Yeah.
And my wife and I have had the discussion whether a frum Jew could own a pet pig, or if the issue of owning a pig is only as a farm animal and not as a pet.
Very interesting. I wonder if Rabbi Slifkin has ever addressed that.
He would be the person most likely to be.
I wonder about that. I mean, they're really magnificent animals. So,
right, but he's not talking about the pig as dirty. He's just saying the pig is an omnivore that's eating everybody else's trash.
Yes.
Right, and perpetually eating. And I don't know one way or the other. I mean, to me, it sounds more like everybody believes the Aesop's fable version of a pig. I don't know. But either way, that's not really, it doesn't touch the zoological point doesn't touch Rav Olby's point. Rav Dessler's point. Im chafatzcha, and if you want, tir ebazed niflos masei Hashem, you should see in this the wonders of Hashem's handiwork. Shabara es hachazir levaer es hapasolas shelo tisra'eh ba'olam. The job of the pig is to destroy refuse, so that it shouldn't be seen all over the world. Al kain asel ra'av tadir. Therefore, Hashem made the pig perpetually hungry. Aman yirba masa nikui v'lo yachtal, so that it will continue cleaning up and won't stop. So he says, if you look at it from the pig's perspective, Hashem did a favor for the pig, because although Hashem made the pig hungry, it made its food available everywhere. On the reverse side, Hashem did a favor for the rest of the world, because he created a pig that's perpetually hungry to get rid of our refuse. Al kain lo yisbol hachazir shum tsar bir avuno. So therefore, the pig does not suffer any pain because of its hunger. Hinapohu, because quite the reverse. Shemamala itavo so tamid. It's constantly satisfying its desire. V'chayev hema chaye oneg she'ein bo hefsek. So, and its life is a life of pleasure that has no end. So, in theory, if you had an infinite amount of money available, then the pursuit of money would be a pursuit of constant. No, it doesn't work that way. Lokein adam hara of letavos yisro. A person is not like that. So even if a person could never had more food than they could ever eat, a person would still not be like that. That which a person desires, is far away from them. Milchama kaveda, a terrible battle, umeretz rav, and what do we have before? With great vigor. Yilcham adei yagia el chelek min shifaso. A person will fight until they reach some portion of whatever it is they have an ambition for. Ve'im gam shanim harbe yichya, and if a person lives for many years, lo yasigas chatzia, that we never acquire half of what we want. Kamosh amru chazal, ein adam yotze min ha'olam chatzit havaso b'yado. It says in Koheles Rabbah, a person does not leave the world with even half of what they want in hand. Throughout Mizeh, worse than this. She'enenu ra'av mechesrono shel osa shel bilvad. Person is not only hungry for what they're missing at that time. Ela yirav gam b'chashash mechzor. People start worrying about what they're going to lose, and they're hungry for something that they have in hand, but are afraid they won't have tomorrow. Asher efshar sheyigienu lahavi v'yachbel ravon hagadol hazeh. So a person is worried that they're going to put in all this effort, right, and double, and still end up hungrier. V'yachbel et haravon hagadol hazeh. That their hunger is going to be greater than what they have. Al yidei achshash shel kol hazmanim, because of the constant fear. Gam zmanim ka'ila, also times like these. Asher safek gadol hu im yiyeh az bein hachayim. He's not even sure if he's going to be alive. V'gam yirav l'chashash ravon banav, and now he gets hungry that I'll have enough, but my inheritance is not going to be enough, and my kids will be hungry. Adei yachrichenu ravono agadol lavod avodas parech. So now his great hunger for wealth is going to enslave him to heavy labor, right? To mitzrayim like labor. Li kanei salzeh. Lidog dagos shalav sharios, right? He's going to have daigas. He's going to have fears, concerns about possibilities of Ada, of loss, or gneva, or theft, the hefsid. Oh, that's also a loss. The whole elu, the whole asher yerba nechasim. Whoever has yarba nechasim, more money. Yosef la hachinachana rabba. Sorry, more money, more problems is where I was trying to go, but more problems is too far down the sentence. Whoever has more property, Yosef la hachinachana rabba, and continues to do all this preparation. Similarly, all his worries increase. V'yigdal ravono ad sheyil en naso. So until they can't be, they're too big to be carried. So we are not pigs. Pig can be happy because it's full in the moment. Person starts imagining what's going to be in the next moment, and therefore we don't. Even if a person had an infinite amount of money available, he'd still want more, because what if? And the more effort you put into getting what you have, the more you're worried about the what if. So that person, even when they have everything they need and they should be satisfied physically, right, psychologically, they just can't. Yeah, you never reach zero because you're always worried about what's going to get lost. She'ifos halalu shalachana, and this ambition of preparation, preventative care to not lose, yamdu lo mineged, are going to stand opposite him. And now the guy is worried, and he's putting away everything for tomorrow, and he doesn't even have the money to spend now. While Yedezeh, right? Like you see the poor the poor people who grew up during the Great Depression, right? Who they could, even when they have money, they're afraid to spend the money or enjoy the money, because what if there's another Great Depression and I won't have the money tomorrow? Like their whole relationship to money is this, right? While Yedezeh elu gam efshar ilu gam efshar. Even if he could quiet his hunger, his present hunger in a bit. This ambition, this desire, this hunger will not give him rest. And he's gonna have this terrible hunger from all sides till he dies ra'av v'yagea, hungry and tired. Isn't this a wonderful picture of yeah, he really has us cheery here.
It's a very monochromatic vision, because people are more complex, and there's not, like, even someone who's running after money has other things in their life that do give them satisfaction.
Yeah, because I'm telling the story as though we're talking about the person and not the hunger for money. He's giving a very monochromatic picture of
a person. I understand.
No, of a person's ambition for money, not a person. In other words, he's not saying this person isn't happy with his grandkids. He's just saying the person will never be happy with his money. And the more effort he puts into the money, the more time he's going to spend unhappy.
Okay.
Because remember, this topic is Bishifa. The title is Bishifa, not Adam HaShoev.
Right, fair point.
L'fnei shanim harbe. Many years ago. Oh, by the way, if you don't like scenes of blood, shut off your imagination. L'fnei shanim harbe. Many years ago, bin dudi derech artzos tzafon, when I was wandering around the northern lands. Re'isi adatza evim re'evim. So I saw a pack of hungry wolves. Ratzim u'mechabsim mizonam. They're running, looking for food. V'yimtzeu nevela chaya katana. And they found the dead body of a small animal. Mushlachas al darkam was draped along their path. V'ikfetzu kulam aleh, and they all jumped to it on it. Muvuhalim udechufim. Chaotically, attacking this animal. Avalo yuchlu lechol teref, but they couldn't just eat right away. Each one is now attacking on the back, jumping on the back of the other one. And would push him out of the way, as though to not leave him any room. And in this way, each one bit the other one. And they fought each other. Until everybody was, all the wolves were injured. And their blood poured out all over the place. This is the way they fought. Until they were all draped all over the floor, spent out of energy. I had to look up onim. Sorry about that. Varaka chadim, just ones and twos. Giborim mehem, the strongest of them. Hamash samu shineim b'nevela. They were able to put their teeth into the cadaver. V'tavor rega. A minute went by. V'hine gam ela his charu zebazeh. And now even they are competing one with the other. V'yashuvu, and they go back. V'yaku, and they attack. V'yanshechu, and they bite. Each one the other one. Nashuchu b'tzua adeya echad gever, until one of them overpowers the others. V'yichtaf and nevela, he grabs the cadaver. V'yanas, and flees. So if you think the mental image of a rat race was bad enough, this one is really bad. I mean, I'm just picturing a whole pack of bloody dogs. I mean, I know he said wolves, but I have a dog. So it's just To me, it was a stark mental image. Hisponanti lamare. So I thought about the scene. Barisi it's a menatzeach ratz mirachok. And I saw the victor was running from far away. Bine kol darko sharatz malaya dam. And he's dripping blood behind him. Wherever he goes, there's blood on the path. Midamo, from his blood, asherzav mipsa'av, which was flowing from his wounds, harapim, many wounds, asher patu chaverav. So even the guy who won is bleeding. Amarti b'libi, I said to myself, Ein b'damohu. Yeah, here he is in his blood. Aval yasbiyas ravo no, but he'll be able to satisfy his hunger. Alav nemar b'nafsho lavi lachmo. Nafsho lavi lachmo, by the way, is I know it's a piyut. Nope, I didn't look up where it was. What?
Right before Kedusha, after Nisan Tokef.
Yeah. Unless it's the end of Nisan Tokef. I don't really know how many. Yeah. I just don't know if Nisan Tokef ends before Kedusha, and then there are other piyutim, or if Nisan Tokef is a multiple paragraph piyut. I just don't know. I mean, I wondered about it, but always when I couldn't stop and look up because it's Kedusha. So anyway, B'nafsho lavim lachmo, right, is part of our description of how pathetic human life can get. We also have that, by the way, it comes up in halacha, where because a workman could risk their necks to make a living, how bad it is not to pay them on time. Look, there are dinim about cheating somebody out of their paycheck because b'nafsho yavi lachmo, because, right? I mean, in those days it was, the people who picked fruit at the treetops because they didn't have people working on high power lines and window washers, or for that matter, crossing streets in certain neighborhoods. But so now I turned back and I looked at those who were left behind. So the winner now walked off with his all bloody with his piece of meat, and he's gonna get his meat. Now I'm looking at those who are left. Obviously, their wounds are many more than his and worse than his, because otherwise they would have been the winners, right? They lost their blood, and their power, fled from them. And they didn't even get anything from all this war. Yargishu cherpas minutachim. They feel the shame of the conquered, of the loser. Asher chibram chaveram hikam. Their friend, their peer, attacked them. Begam ochal v'sava v'dashan. He ate, right? He's satisfied. I do not know what dashan is. I looked it up. Didn't help me.
Means fat, doesn't it?
Yeah. Lidshon can be. He got fat, but he didn't though. I don't know. So
that sounds freshman. It means he had a good meal.
Well, that makes sense. But the got fat part, I didn't think applied. So I was I figured I didn't have the word right. And you know what Google Translate gave me? Brain. Deshen.
Oh, it's also and it can also mean ashes.
So it wasn't very useful. Yeah, well, deshen. I see how grain and ashes would be the same word. Like the powder kind of texture thing. Behema siv emakos, and they are only satisfied with their wounds. The gamra vonasam, and their hunger. Zesher leman yaspiu nilchamu. They fought for a chance to be satisfied. Odenu mechezko kirishana, and that hunger, ravonam, the gam ravonam, also their hunger. that they fought in order to satisfy that hunger. Odenu b'chezko is still in its full strength, like at the beginning. So they are more injured. They're losers, and they feel like losers, and they're just as hungry as when they started, if not more, because they just expended all this energy to fight the winners. Ata now when I thought about the hunger, the ambition for physicality, also bezichroni hamasiyazos. So now, whenever I think about this, the people's ambitions for physicality, for physical things, my memory, this comes to memory. The story comes to memory. Kitiya mashal of Adam. It is a good metaphor for people. In gamam natseach hischarus, even the one who wins in the competition, patsuahu, is still injured. Chole, he's sick. Ayefi, ageya, tired and worn out. Begam ki nitzchono, asher natzach, and even the victory which he had, einenu shavem uma, isn't worth anything. Kiravono lo yasbiel olamim, he won't even be full forever. Ala yichpelu v'yirbeh, it will double again, and it'll be greater than what he has. Come more, as we said. Aval im kohu goral hamanatzeach, and if that is the fate of the one who wins the competition, think about the portion of the one who lost, who he won against. And remember, the world has far more losers than winners. So we learn Kisho Ave. Now he's summing up his point. So what did we learn now? Ki hashoev, somebody with ambition, ra'avhu hamulal b'chol habruim kulam. Ambition is a hunger that is the pushing. No, that makes miserable all living things. Amnam yadati et asher tishalni. I know what you're going to ask me. What about ambition for something good? See, that time, aspiration for something good. That's how we should use the word aspiration, right? Aval kvar higanu bazeh el hafresh ben hanosin lanotel. We already dealt with the difference, right? We already thought or described the difference between the giver and the taker. Bein shifos shel tina untila, between aspirations to give and aspirations to take. Umizeh and Yeret Hashem bePerak Haba. And that we will talk about after this Hosafa to Perak Zion in the next paragraph, chapter. So before chapter 8, there's a Hosafa to chapter 7. The Hosafa is written in a different font. Not that you can see that yet, but you see they kind of squeezed it in there. But his point is that all of this negative that comes from ambition, he's saying it is because it's an ambition to take, and the negativeness comes from the desire, comes from the fact that a person's investing all that effort to take. And ambition, aspirations to give, don't suffer from this downward spiral. And I'll explain why in the next two chapters, the addition to 7 and chapter 8.
I think it was Jordy who said last week how, or maybe a few weeks ago, I don't remember, how Rabbi Dessler is very speaks from his experiences, and this is another great example of it.
Yeah.
Was he in Siberia or something where he was in the wolf pack?
I don't think he went to Siberia, but he does go to, are there wolves in Scotland?
I'm in wolves in England for about 200 years.
I mean, remember, he's near the border to Scotland. So if he's wandering the north, I was thinking maybe there.
Maybe it's wild dogs.
Or maybe it's northern Lithuania. Before he got to England. I don't know. I mean, I don't know when he wrote this. But he talked about wandering. Lindode is not like you don't wander Siberia. Right? You're there because you were set there and you have a place to live and you're not. I mean, it's just I don't picture. I don't know if I don't remember any part of his biography where he ended up in Siberia, but I also can't picture his scene being described. Like I was wandering one day and I saw a bunch of wolves. Doesn't sound like Siberia.
Wikipedia doesn't say anything about Siberia.
No, I didn't think so. A lot of Navardik ends up in Siberia, but Kelm didn't. But he did live pretty far north in both Eastern Europe and in England. So I don't know. Okay, so now Meis HaMechaber. So now Rav Dessler adds something to chapter 7. V'chi tish'al, and if you would ask, Lama hu zeh asher lo yispa hasho'ef asher yasig v'yagia elav. Why isn't somebody with ambitions ever satisfied when he gets what he wants? So now he's going to discuss the whole etiology. Like before, chapter 7 was written more on a emotional, motivational plane. Now he's going to discuss the mechanics. Yesh b'zeh davar amuk v'nefla. It has something very amok, very deep and wondrous. Halo hashi'ifa hi koach hamoshech. She'ifa, aspiration or ambition, is an attractive force, as opposed to a repulsive force. I'm using it, using my own engineering background. I don't know how he would have translated it, but it's a force that pulls. Asher yimshoch elav es asher michutza lo. It draws to somebody that which is outside of him. Kolomar, she'eno doma l'ra'avon hativ'i. It's not like a natural physical hunger. Asher shehu rak hargashas ha'hechrech l'malei et bidno. It's just the feeling of the need to fill one's stomach. Shezed davar sheyesh lo kitzva v'shur. It has a limit and it has a measure. Aval misha nofel b'yad hashi'ifa l'kesef. Somebody who falls under the spell of an ambition for money, uchdamer or the like, who eino mevakesh davar yadu v'katzuv. He doesn't want something specific and delimited. Ella shemoshelas alav taiva mechudeshes. The person has a new desire. Melachutit. Artificial. That's how it's related to malach and malacha. Okay. L'archi et tchumo, to enlarge their borders. Lakachat le'atzmo davar shehu hutalo, to take for himself something that is outside of him. B'nei shehu hutalo, because it is outside of him. Nimtza ki lo mipnei chashivus etzem. It's not because of the importance of the thing in and of itself, the substance, the essence of the thing, that the person has an ambition for it. Only in the fact that he feels that it's outside of him. So he's saying this kind of ambition, like the desire to have money, etc., is all about that which is outside, bringing that which is outside your limits in. And therefore, of course, the second you have it, it's now in, it's no longer what you want. It's inherently unsatisfiable. because the second you have it, it's not the thing you wanted. The thing you wanted is always on the other side of the border. Umimela, v'zehu lecha ha'os kikach, and this is your sign that it is this way. Basigo and yanim asher shaf when he gets the thing that he wants, shuv lo yishvu beinav muma. Suddenly, it's not worth anything. But when it doesn't satisfy the desire. And when he sees that he's not satisfied, and so he has this imagining that he's going to destroy. There's a hunger with whatever is beyond the next thing. And now he'll have an ambition or a drawing to it. Notice that most rich people have a desire for money. And they'll be most nefesh for their money, even more than a poor person would. Kamruzal, like Chazal say, Yesh lo mea ratzeh masayim. It's actually, the quote is Yesh lo maneh. But a money is just a coin that's worth 100 zuz. So same thing. Person that has 100 zuz, they want 200. Masayim rotzeh daled meos. Achein gam bezeh mitachzeves to kusel kevarishana. The longing grips him just as it did before. These things aren't just said about the love of money. It's the same thing with other physical desires. It says in the Nedarim, he had this guy, he was known to be promiscuous. And he was caught by the husband in the husband's home, right? So, right, his girlfriend, he's in the middle of a dalliance, and the husband walks into the house. So the husband comes, and now the husband's in the house with, he's hiding in the house. Husband's in the house, wants to eat something, and he knew that that a poisonous snake bit into it, shehu hamaves, and it has venom in it. Ta'aklo oso noe fehitzilo. So the paramour screams out and warns him not to eat the food. Va'omer sham Rava, and Rava says there, she'ein shum chashasha noe haya be'emes. It's not possible that he actually was having an affair with the guy's wife. Kim Kane, because if he was really in the middle of having an affair with the guy's wife, he would have been perfectly fine letting the guy die. The Gemara says, Pshita, is that so obvious? And answers, Shulaya Yisi Omer, maybe I would have said Shebemes Noefu. Maybe he really is an oaf. Maybe he really is, having an affair. He wants the husband to live. So the woman would be for him like stolen water is sweeter. Right? And hidden bread is pleasanter. As we'd say today, forbidden fruit. He wants the joy of having forbidden fruit. Maybe that's why he kept him alive. So that's the Gemara saying.
Chazal say after the Churban, the pleasure of illicit things replace that of licit things as far as relations in one place. I'm not sure exactly how to take that.
I don't either, but the Zohar would probably say something about after the Churban, we return to the state of we we were further. It was like the throwing out of Gan Eden, and therefore it's more whether it's forbidden fruit. Oh, who knows? Aval Adain Kasha. It's still difficult. Ulai be'emes who came. Maybe Rava was right. Mefarshim Sham. But Tosfos explains, "Sheno if enu yodaya inyan zeh shalmaim genuvim taku, but devarim tzrichim iyun." So the Gemara, the Tosfos answers that the Gemara, the Stam Gemara is wrong, because if somebody actually were a paramour, he wouldn't be thinking in those terms. He wouldn't be thinking in the terms of forbidden fruit. Right, so therefore Rava is correct, and we could assume that there was no affair. Bir ha'inyan canal. So now let's explain it according to what we said earlier. Kibala taiva, the person who's trapped by desire, lo yada shedechifas tavoso ba'a davka mizeh shemibekoshi nimna memenu l'fisha'a. He's not aware that the pressing nature of his desire comes specifically because his acquisition was difficult. And if he would only be able to reach it easily and without difficulty and easily and permissibly, it would lose its taste v'yikatin tanugo. While somebody's caught up in the chase, they're not aware of the fact that if they could just have it, they'd lose interest in it. Humedama shakol ashro taloi basagas mavukash zedavka. He would think that all his happiness, all his enrichment, whatever we want to call osher, depends. That's what a person trapped in this desire imagines, that all of his, the happiness that he's pursuing depends on obtaining this thing that he wants, specifically. And if he would only get it, he'd be enriched and happy for the rest of eternity. If he would have realized how imaginary this is, he wouldn't be chasing it. And now we see why there's no satisfaction for somebody who has an ambition. I think it's davar. I mean, it could be devarer. In other words, I think he's pursuing nothing. And he will only obtain the wins. But it could be he's not. He's just aspiring to something that is not defined. But that would be dibarur. I mean, I'm just figuring it's a typo. I just hate being the guy who makes a hard text easy by saying it's a typo, because I've seen some really pathetic explanations by somebody who just wants to dismiss it. Oh, it's just a typo, so. But I think in this case it is. Either way, the person's chasing nothing and gets nothing. Zos, welcome home, Jordy. Zos, timhu chachamim. So the chachamim wondered about this. Lama lo yelamed adam minam nisayon. Why don't we learn from experience? Shekol yamav radav pishifos inyanei olam hazeh. Our whole lives we chase after these desires, these aspirations we have for worldly things. V'yisigo osam lo nene b'hem, and when we get them, how long are you satisfied with them? You don't get hana from them. So why don't we ever learn to stop already? Im kavar here gish basagav harishonim shem hevel. If he would have felt in his initial acquisitions that they are empty, So why don't we think the next one's going to be just the same? Where's this intellect that humans are so proud of?
Well, and yet there's the classic Rambam. If not for like ambition, no one would ever, get married or build a household or anything.
Are you thinking of the Rambam, or are you thinking of the Gemara that talks about killing the Yetzer Hara trapping the Yetzer Hara for sex, and then there were no eggs and
right. The Rambam is saying people shouldn't refrain from getting married and building houses and stuff. You're right.
Right.
Citation was not 100%.
But in any case, I had wondered about the concept of the pursuit of happiness, because I realize that people are really only happy while pursuing. And I was wondering if the concept of pursuit of happiness wasn't true by definition. Like happiness is associated with the act of pursuit. And it's kind of a tautology to talk about the pursuit of happiness, or redundancy. Because the second you get it, you're not happy anymore.
As opposed to like transcendent, use Tolkien's phrase, joy beyond the walls of the world, poignant as grief. Like true simcha. Rav Lopiansky has said.
No, I'm not talking about that at all. I'm really in a very different place.
Pleasure.
Joy. It's called the hedonic treadmill.
Mm.
You need to. You're always looking for the next hit of dopamine, basically. You will never be satisfied, and then again, that's one thing. Another thing is many people talk about let's say joy being a state of flow. I mean, when you're in the middle of things, when you are thriving, but with an effort, that's like the best place to be.
So Rav Dessler seems to be identifying physical goals, physical aspirations with the koach halakicha. And because it's about the taking, that something outside of you is now inside your border, you can't be satisfied, because the second you have it, it's not outside, it's not the thing you wanted anymore. And therefore, he would be capable, if it was a spiritual aspiration, which to him is an aspiration to give. His spirituality is giving. And that's why here his physicality is all about taking. And why the desire for physical is hunger, which is in life. Like everything he's setting up here, it's, taking is associated with the physical and giving is associated with the spiritual. And therefore, a desire for physical things comes from this desire to take. And the second you have it, it's not being taken anymore. And so you don't want it anymore. That's the psychology I think he's drawing here in this section. So let's ufazos. No, we already did that. So Shlomo Melech writes about this, the wisest of all men. Havel havalim amar koheles, havel havalim hakol havel. Right, all is vanity. Hevel. What does the word hevel mean? Hi hatshuka lechamdot ha'olam hazeh. It is a desire, a drawing toward the nice things of this world. Gizeh asher chutz mimenu lama hu lo. When it's outside of him, when it's beyond his sphere of control, right? What is it for him? Hare havalim. It's nothing. Hema. Everything that he then gets from his shifa, he'll never be satisfied with them. Ashayech Bo'od, everything that he continues to desire, Gam Kain Hevel. So he understands Havel Havalim HaKol Havel is exactly this, which he's surprised people don't learn from experience. Havel Havalim, that which I acquired turned out to be Hevel HaKol Hevel. Everything I chase is going to be Hevel. But it took Shlomo Melech to reach this realization. Most of us keep on chasing. You see his Pshat in Havel Havalim? That which I acquired was nothing, right? I got it. I chased my Hevel. I got it. It turned out to be Havalim, Hakol Havel. So Koheles concludes, it must be the next thing I wanted to chase would also be Hevel. So I'm not gonna. In a tzarech ladas, you have to know, ki zeh shenikra hamamon kinyan. That which we call monetary acquisition, a kinyan, an acquisition, Eino ela dimyon is only metaphorically so, or it's only true in our imaginations. Either way, it's not literal. Ki lo yuchal ha'adam liknot davar gashmi. Person cannot really acquire something physical. Sheyisachedi mo, that it will become one with him. B'yeh chelek mimenu kegufo, and it will be, have a good one. And too late. I said after he left. And it'll be part of him like his body is. Vein sarach lomar kanavsho, and certainly not part of him like his soul is. Inyan aba'alus, the concept of ownership, uraka sher chavatzim yaduim, known items, known property, you muchanim lishtamshus adam yadua, will be available and ready for the use of a specific known person. Lo yikchu mimenu chavero, and somebody else won't take them from him. Oy lemisha shoef lidavik b'mashalo efshar lidavik bo. Oh, how terrible it is! Somebody who aspires to be attached to something that won't stick to him. Ki tavoso lo tavo. He's never going to get that which he desires. Lo yala biyado ela hatzar, and nothing will ever, reach his hand except pain. Ashrei mi sheshifasohu liknos kinyanim b'nafsho. Much better and enriched and happy is the person whose aspirations are to acquire things with his soul. She'ein davar mon'o mikiyum she'ifaso. Nothing will stand in the way of his acquisition. That I don't know if that's an arguable proposition there. There are plenty of people who, no matter what they want to acquire, no matter how much effort they pull in, will never master, let's say, all of Yevamos or some other spiritual acquisition. Even if it's not, because they just lack the intellectual capacity to understand Gemara, or, or somebody really, really wishes that they could be the next philanthropist, but, they never have enough money, or I don't really understand that. But at least it's not inherently paradoxical to try to get what you want. You could chime in another sentence. The ain't si baba olam, and there's no reason in the world. Sorry, there's no cause in the world which will make it possible to steal his acquisitions. Vum ushar, and he's enriched. Ubatuach, and confident. Ba'olam hazeh v'haba. Right? He's sure in this world and in the next world. So that is all he has to say about physical negative aspirations. He says a lot in this Hosafa about the very nature. That's what I was saying about the very nature of this Kalach Halakicha. Right? He's saying that, where's Kalach Halakicha come from? Well, people are hungry because if you're not hungry, you won't be driven to eat, and it won't keep the body alive. So Lakicha starts with physical need. And that's where we get the desire to have more resources. That's different than having the desire to accomplish more.
Very interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, you'll notice that although all of these texts that I've chosen have in common the theme of how we relate to others, whether it's HaKadosh Baruch Hu, whether it's, the soul, our own soul, how we relate to ourselves, how we relate to people, they all posited major statements about how people work.
Got it.
That says probably more about Micha than text. In other words, the texts that fascinated me and stuck in my head were probably the ones that answer a question I wonder about. I mean, I don't really think that's, we didn't pick the Maharal's favorite text. We picked Micha's favorite Maharal, right?
I'm good with that. It does say about you, but that's fine.
Yeah. Now let's talk about positive ambitions. So this time we're gonna go a little deep. Because remember, he wrote this before the section we just read.
Oh.
This section in tiny print is an insert.
Right.
It was written by the author. It's not, Rabbi, as opposed to the introduction where he tells you that chapters 1 and 2, he kind of had to find other pieces to make complete. Now, this he tells you was written by Rav Dessler, but it was a hosafa to chapter 7. Now we're back to the original text. So when he says go deep, it's not in comparison to the edition. So I'm just, relax a little. Haravon hu os lichisaron. Hunger, we said, is a sign of lacking. Ki amechusar, b'mazon, somebody who lacks food. Hanidrash lagufa adam, which is necessary for the body of a person. Hu asher yarivenu, that's what will make him hungry. V'chein hu b'chol she'ifos, and so it is with all aspirations. Hashoef chaser es asher yishaf love. Right, it's the person who has an ambition, who has an aspiration, is missing the thing that he's trying to get. Zosomeris, this means Hashifa hi koach hamoshech. This we saw already, that the shifa is an attractive force, right? It pulls. Yimshoch el ha'adam dvarim shemialu es chesronam. Chesrono. It pulls to him the things that will satisfy the lack. V'chein hasoveya. So just as is true for hunger, is true for contentment. Hu asher nismalei chisaron. Contentment comes from having the lacking addressed. There's a whole conversation going on in the chat that I have not been able to follow because my eyes are on the text. But I hope I'm not needed for it. If I am, somebody speak up. V'chein hasoveya hu asher nismalei chisaron. Ka'amur. Hashifos toldos koach hanetila. We said these ambitions are consequences of the power of the power of taking, the will to grasp. Ein lahem sova. Those shifos have no contentment. Ki chesronam lo yimalei lolam. You're never going to be satisfied, right? Because the second you have it, it's no longer it's no longer the outside thing that you want to take. The second you took it, it's an inside thing. It's your thing. Ve'chu koach hanesina. What about the will to give? Enenu koach hamoshech. It isn't an attractive force that pulls things toward you. It comes from having, not from lacking. V'nisba'er, unva'er, and we will explain. Ish kazeh asher davar chomri einenu shaveh beinav his anyenbo. Somebody who doesn't, physical things, they're not worth his attention. V'sameach b'ma sheyeshlo. He's happy with what he has. V'chol asher yimatzeh lo yisaveya. And everything with which he has, he's content. He's not busy chasing anything. Though he berchas hakel baruch hu v'achalta v'savata. This is the bracha that we had. V'achalta v'savata v'erachta. You will eat and you will be satisfied. Matana tova hila adam me Hashem yisbarach. It's a great gift from God. Sheyuchal shalem v'lo chaser. That a person can be whole and not lacking. Asher lezos notzar. That's what a person was made for. Ramru Chazal, and Chazal actually Ben Zoma in particular said, Ezehu Ashir Hasameach Bechalko, who is rich, somebody who's content with what they have. Haim Badir Chachmasam, Chazal, in their great wisdom, Bachanu Bivnei Adam, they explored people. V'ra'u ki amishtalem b'shleimus hanefesh. Somebody who's complete spiritually, Yisaveya will be full, below your av and not hungry. Yisameach b'chalko will be happy with his lot, lo yishaf lo osif b'chomriyus, and will not have all these ambitions to get more physicality. Hu ashir, that is the rich person. Aval kosha armar bis b'nei adam, chaserim hema. All the other many people, they're lacking. Aniyim urevim. They're poor and they're hungry. And if you connect this to what he said before, they're poor in a very literal sense. Because how much tzedakah do you have to give somebody? Well, assuming a lack of
fifth.
What?
You're talking about the fifth?
No, that's how much you have to give. How much do they have to get?
Oh.
Day machzero, the amount they're lacking. So the person who has 200 zuz and wants 400, right? His day machzero is 200. Somebody who is poor and only wants the next couple of zuz, his day machzero is 2. So who's actually poorer? Right?
Right. You're saying
right.
That's the Ezo Asher Smith. Okay.
Right. So I see Ezehu Asher Sameach B'chalko is literally rich in the sense that they need less. They're lacking less. Right? The person who for whom, the next million would be the measurable acquisition that they're chasing is a million short. I'm not a million short. I can't picture getting a million. I could dream about it, but I can't picture it as a reality.
I've often heard about that basically once you get enough money and so forth to live comfortably, marginal gains from money after that are pretty minimal. I mean, a very rich guy is not much happier than let's say an upper middle class or a middle class person. Just thought.
So the will to give, the power of giving, enenu shora elala sameach, only rests on somebody who's happy, which we said is the person who's content with what they have. Lo rak mistapek, not just somebody who has enough. Bechelko. So having enough, that isn't going to be driving giving. Driving giving is you're content. Who, Virak who, this and only this person, Hineu Kanahar Asher Memav Yerviyun. He's like a river whose water, multiplies. V'yavar al kol gedosav and overflows the riverbanks. Hello, Isaki Hasameach, and you've seen that anybody who's happy, Kol Asher Tigdal Simchaso, the greater his happiness, your Chavlo Vavo, he gets, he gets more generous. Right? This is why people tend not to make private weddings. Because the happier you are, the more you want to share it. I think this is where I wrote in my notes. 1 second. Nope, that's still the Hosafa. Yeah. Okay. So, kachahu. That's the way it is. Hanosein, the person who gives, hu asher beruchnius yisodo. This is somebody whose foundations are spiritual. B'chol inyanei olamo einav nosos lamala. And in everything in this world, his eyes are upward. He sees in every large and small thing the Hashem's generosity, Hashem's loving kindness. Kilo samnu. Chaste Hashem kilo samnu. That is an Eicha, by the way, which is a very strange place to find it. The loving kindness, the kind acts of Hashem never end, never stop. Best tovosav, and the good things he does are she'ein kates lahen, that have no limit. So when that spiritual person sees that that's the way the world is, he will be happy, which means content with his gifts. Simcha rabbah, a great joy. Chayav musharim tamid, and he will always be enriched and content. So this is where I wrote in my notes. The Karban Tamid is unique in 2 ways. Anybody want to guess what 2 ways I'm going to point out? Okay, so Karban Tamid is the only carbon of its form where you only have one night that you're allowed to eat it. Usually, you have the day the carbon's brought, that night, the next day, and the following night.
Karban Tamid?
Not Tamid, sorry, Karban Toda.
I thought it was not Tamid at all.
No, the Karban Toda
Okay.
is the only carbon of Kachim Kalam. It's the only carbon that you only have one night, not 2 nights. The other thing unique about it is the sheer amount of accompaniment that comes with the animal. So you give the animal comes with 40 loaves. 30 of them are matzah, 10 are chametz, only 4 of which go to the Kohen, who also gets the cheek and the right arm of the right front leg of the animal, right? And then you're left with this entire animal and 36 loaves that have to be consumed by the next morning. So it's a huge amount of food that can only be eaten in a much shorter time than other kudshim of its level. I'm sure Moshe Yehuda and John have heard some rabbi and some Shabbos morning drasha talk about this before. This is far from my idea.
Not me.
The Karban Tamid forces the person giving the Tamid to invite people to share the Karban with them. There's no other way you to get it all consumed on time. It's just too much food. So the Karban Tamid forces the person who is feeling Hashem's kindness to let that overflow and be shared with other people. Right? When we're talking about Ravolbi's, because there's that Yedidos between Hashem and the Jewish people, that's going to overflow, and the Jewish people are going to feel Yedidos for each other. Well, this is Rav Dessler's parallel parallel concept. Right? He doesn't talk about yedidus, he talks about giving and being content with what we have. But because you feel Hashem's giving, it's bound to overflow and you're going to want to give to others. What?
Nice thought. I don't remember ever hearing that.
Oh, I've heard it like in so many parsha sheets. I thought like everybody did.
Okay.
As you heard, I thought at least everybody from did. That's why I did assume Jordy did. So I think
Fair
personal
enough.
Jordy. But yeah. From this happiness and this, feeling enriched, this feeling of being well to do. Ha'ela yabiu sina ba'ava. Then you get the influence of giving and love. Lo savu hashi'ifa latov min chisaron, and this shi'ifa, this aspirations for good, do not come from our lacking. Kasher ba shifa ra'a, like the desire for the negative ambitions do. Element hadvekus. It comes from connectedness. Zuhi madregas hatzadikim hamu'ulim asher yasim ava. This is the level of the high tzadikim, the greater tzadikim, who do everything from ava. Chazal already explained this. Bamram in brachos. Gadol hananem miyigiaso. Happy is a person who enjoys what they from their effort. Yoser miyarei shamayim. More than somebody who has yireh shamayim. So somebody who, gets joy from the work, from his own work, is greater than a yireh shamayim. What does that mean? It's very enigmatic. It's a good tease, Lamor. So it's to say, somebody who enjoys the work of his hands. This is a person who wants to give more than take. That's the point of Yigiyas Kapo. That person merits the will to give, the desire, the power of giving, which we said in chapter 3. Gadol hu miyarei shamayim. Chapter 3 was the person who conducted commerce, whose primary concern is what service can I give my counterparty, not how much can I make. That's what you're referring to. So the person, the shoemaker who takes pride in the stitching of each stitch of his shoe, is a yireh shamayim, because only that person would not be feeling the lack of the next thing, and therefore they'd be in the giving mode and not the taking mode. Balama, why is this? Basher no saying ose me'avas Hashem. The giver acts from avas Hashem. Ugedola madregas ha'oveas Hashem means asher yarei also. And greater is the level of somebody who acts from avas Hashem than somebody who acts from yira, from fear. Achein od lefanenu levarer es davar merachem ba'nosi ba'olim chavero. So we still have to explain the person who acts out of compassion and who bears his friend's burden with them. Asher hemam mi'idos hamaulos shebevnei adam. These are among the loftiest midos that a person could have. Aval bohen yitzdaru b'tzaras chavreim, but they cause somebody to share in another's pain. V'chi'ilo yechsar la'atzmam yechshav lahem, and it's causing a lack in oneself. V'tavasam im ha'cherim, and the good that they do with others. Tashkid es tzaras rucham shalanosnim. Part of the motive then becomes quelling their own personal suffering. Im ze inyan shel chisaron. Is this a lack? V'shleimuso, and filling the lack. Kamo she'ifas hara, like negative ambition. Et zeh yispar b'perek haba be'ezras Hashem. This is what we're going to explain in the next chapter, God willing. So this is, by the way, what's it called? This is a inherent problem, right? Is there such a thing as real altruism? Or does somebody who acts on another's behalf have some personal gain? Right? What he's saying is, if you share in another's pain, then your act is not coming from a place entirely of them. It's also a taking, because now you're going to end your own pain that you're getting by sharing theirs. So, I mean, if I were to split it, which is not the way he resolves it in chapter 9, but if I was to split it, I would say the fact that you're feeling their pain may be the positive midah, and then the action that you're doing on it is a consequence that is not as great as the initial pain. In other words, by taking on their pain, you're motivated to get rid of your pain, right? But it doesn't mean that, and therefore taking on their pain is greater action than alleviating it.
But isn't it that it's not that you're doing this so that you shouldn't be in pain? It's sort of like a by the way.
Right?
Yeah.
By doing good to the other, you're going to quiet that emotional pain of the giver. So his hava, his question is exactly the opposite of what you said. The answer may be that that's not his conclusion, but I'm stopping at the end of chapter 8, so I'm stopping with the question.
No, you have to call the shot.
Yeah. Okay, so I wanted to compare this to this quote from Rabbi Yitzchak Volozhiner. Okay? Rabbi Yitzchak Volozhiner redacted Nefesh HaChaim. He says in the Akdama that his father left him some notebooks. Because Rabbi Chaim Volozhiner left some notebooks, and he took them and wove them together and added a lot of hagos and came up with Nefesh HaChaim. So he writes an introduction describing his father's general perspective on life, not like specifically what the book's about. And the role of Yireh Shamayim, which he doesn't discuss directly, and some other things. But in parentheses, which I made bold in a slightly larger font, he says this about his father. This is the way Rav Chaim Volozhiner raised his son, Rav Yitzchak. Vayarogil lochiach osi. I'm now on the parentheses. If you can see the okay. He used to regularly rebuke me. Al shera'a, because he saw sheneni mishtatef b'tzara d'achrina. I did not participate in the pain of others. V'kol haya devaro elai. This is his words to me. Tamid, constantly. Shazek kol adam lo la'atzmo nivra. A person was not created for themselves. Rak lahoil la'achrine. Only to help the other, in whatever way he is able to do. In case you're wondering what it looked like in the original edition, I found the original edition before I saw that Sfaria had a copy I could cut, paste, and make legible. But this is a very different approach, because what he's saying here is, the way Rav Dessler framed it was giving is the ultimate. And now we're going to have to explain how relieving a shared pain, having the empathy and sharing their pain, relieving is really an act of giving. Right? That's the direction he has to go in now. Whereas what Rav Chaim Volozhiner kept on telling his son is relieving another's pain is the ultimate. And the value of giving is the fact that they no longer feel the need.